you.
This is the 100th anniversary of Wilshire Boulevard. It's a very, very important street in our city.
My name is Richard McDermott, and I'm the president of the Wilshire Chamber of Commerce, and thank you so much for coming out to our first 100-year celebration of Wilshire Boulevard.
On behalf of Mayor Richard Reardon, I want to congratulate all of you.
Wilshire Boulevard, 100 years. Okay. And Jean Kim, Komasumi da Chingu, out there, all our friends, Dorothy out in the back row. We're going to place this right in front of the great Wiltern Theater, right there at Wilshire and Western.
Welcome, John Ferraro.
Thank you very much. This is a great occasion, and I want to congratulate the Wilshire Chamber of Commerce to host this 100th anniversary of Wilshire Boulevard, one of the great boulevards of the world, well known all over the world.
1895 to 1995. Congratulations once again.
On behalf of the Korean Consul General here in Los Angeles, I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to the Wilshire Chamber of Commerce.
You know it's time for everyone to come together. I know it's hard, but the dream must.
You're all going to come back the next time too? You bet.
We're offering this festival to bring people out, to again show them that Wilshire Boulevard is vital.
Wilshire Boulevard is what Los Angeles is all about.
Happy birthday, Wilshire Boulevard.
Wilshire Boulevard is the most important street in Los Angeles. It goes from downtown to the ocean, and it's where all the important office buildings are, the centers, and it's where the museums are, and it's where retail is, and it's where the parks are.
Happy birthday, Wilshire Boulevard.
Wilshire Boulevard is one of the great boulevards in all of the United States, indeed all of the world.
A fellow in Europe had a letter to send to someone on Wilshire Boulevard, and for some reason he did not put the name of the city. He just wrote Joe Brown, Wilshire Boulevard, USA, and it was delivered to him on Wilshire Boulevard.
Happy birthday, Wilshire Boulevard.
Wilshire Boulevard rivals any of the great streets in the world. The Champs-Élysées, Park Avenue, Michigan Avenue in Chicago. I mean, Wilshire is the complement of any of those streets in terms of its greatness and its history.
Happy birthday, Wilshire Boulevard.
Wilshire is really the center of history for our city, and it's not really a center, it's a spine of history for our city. It's the first street that had all the major institutions, all the major churches.
Happy birthday, Wilshire Boulevard.
It's 100 years old. Of course, I loved it when I said the only reason I accepted this day is because I had to be someplace that was older than I am. And of course, you know, when you hit 98, what are you going to do?
That's a wonderful thing about Wilshire Boulevard. It's full of history, and all these new exciting things are happening continually on Wilshire Boulevard. So it really is a symbol of our city. That's why we want to celebrate it. It's such a beautiful place.
Happy birthday, Wilshire!
My grandfather, step-grandfather, was Gaylord Wilshire, laid out this boulevard. And he was with me many years, and I knew him very well. Many people don't know that Wilshire Boulevard was laid out by Gaylord Wilshire. And it seems to me that he does deserve that credit. He did make it, and it's his name. But I've talked to so many people, and they said, well, who's with Gaylord Wilshire? You know, when he first built it, he said this is going to be one of the biggest boulevards in the country. Look at the way it's built now. It's solid all the way down to the ocean.
Well, Gaylord Wilshire did us all a favor, didn't he? He decided that years ago he'd buy a piece of land a little further east from here and start what he thought was going to be the artery of Los Angeles, and he was right.
Wilshire Boulevard started at MacArthur Park and went to Lafayette Park. Gaylord Wilshire bought that tract, 35 acres, in 1895. That's why it was 100 years ago. We're celebrating that birthday. And then little by little, the street kept getting longer, and his name was on it, and then it went through to downtown, and then it went over to Santa Monica. By 1934, it was all 16 miles complete.
When he did this street, when he first came up with the idea of a Wilshire Boulevard, he made it wider than any other street in the United States, which was unknown at that time. So he really had vision. And this 100 years ago, before automobiles really started in.
Gaylord Wilshire was really a visionary. He's the kind of person that really thought big. And it's wonderful to have big thinkers like that. Those are the people that established the spirit of the city.
I think what most people aren't aware of is the fact that in the area that we now know as the Wilshire Corridor, it was a very lively area, a lot of literary activity. It was a tremendous amount of cultural life going on. People would be able to go down the street and they would see carts filled with newspapers, magazines, books being sold on street corner after street corner.
And it's exactly in those Depression years, 1930 to 1940 roughly, that the Wilshire Corridor really attained its prominence as both a commercial center and something of an art center or intellectual center as well. The reason for that is fairly simple. There was work in Los Angeles, and specifically there was writing work to be had in Los Angeles during the Depression years, mainly because of the success of the film industry. So a number of writers from the East in this country came and made their careers, and in some cases actually settled in Los Angeles.
A lot of these people who were here working, who were living in Los Angeles and living and working in the Wilshire Corridor, were people who had come up here, intellectuals in particular, but also just everyday people, because of the Mexican Revolution. And so we had a tremendous amount of people who had come up from Mexico at that time. Overall, whether it was English speaking or Spanish speaking, it was a different cultural time, and people forget how lively it was. You have to think of the Wilshire Corridor much like people think of the Harlem Renaissance.
So there are a lot of beautiful, beautiful buildings here, especially in the Wilshire Center area. We have been compared to Fifth Avenue in New York because of our museums and our beautiful buildings and the Art Deco buildings, the high-rises, the condominiums. Well, we have the Bullock's Wilshire, which is now the Southwestern Law School. Bullock's originally was called the Cathedral of Commerce, and it was this elegant building, Art Deco, modern, modeled after a Paris building and architecture. Then the Wiltern right down here is very famous, and it's got its beautiful streamlined modern architecture with the theater and the beautiful paintings and murals in the theater, and then the office building. And then you have the Ambassador Hotel, which has been a landmark for many years. Well, the Ambassador Hotel, for one, was where all the movie stars went. I mean, this was where Rudolph Valentino lived and where somebody rode a horse through the coconut grove. I mean, it was just, and the Brown Derby was across the street, and the movie stars lived here. And this is, I mean, all the retail, the beautiful shops, the jewelry shops, and the boutiques, and all that. We're here to serve that. I mean, we were Hollywood before Hollywood.
Back in 1921, Earl C. Anthony went to Paris and bought 2 Packard signs, put them up on the corner of La Brea and Wilshire. They were the first signs ever put up in this side of the Atlantic. And of course, LA became real neon conscious.
And you see the Gaylord Apartments is one of the oldest apartment buildings in Los Angeles, which of course bears the name after Gaylord Wilshire. Still has the old sign on top of it.
There's over 20 neon signs. You can't do that anymore. You can't put new neon signs on the buildings, but the code will allow you to fix up the old neon signs and revitalize them.
We're going to light a lot of the neon signs along Wilshire Boulevard to bring back some of that sense of history to this area. When neon signs were, of course, new, an innovation, something people saw as something very modern, but many of those signs still remain, and they just need a little bit of work to get them back in operating condition.
And you have the churches, which are just outstanding architecture. They just don't build them like that anymore.
And you have a lot of these fine old churches which were built in the 20s. As you see, you've got the temples, you got St. Basil's back there. You have some of the most historical buildings in LA here. We have about half a dozen National Historical Registered buildings here on the boulevard, this one section.
We hope everybody really sees the value here and the eclectic architecture that we have along Wilshire Boulevard.
I think Wilshire Boulevard has to reinvent itself. And I think if it does not reinvent itself, it will go down. It must reinvent itself. And it will. It will because of occasions like this, because now we are proud. We're 100 years old, and that's something.
Wilshire Chamber of Commerce is a group of individuals joined together to bring the community together. It's a business organization, it's a community organization, and it's to make the area cohesive, to be a group that can disseminate information, work with the community, work with the city, work with the MTA. The goals of the Chamber are to revitalize the Wilshire Center area. This was always a very vital area, a main thoroughfare, part of the main artery. We're only a few minutes from downtown, and we have such a diverse cultural mix here. We have both business, we have retail, we have residential that live in the area. We can support employment here, and the idea is to just bring all of this information to the forefront, to work to improve the area, to work to make it as exciting as it really is, to help people understand how vital and exciting Wilshire Center is.
As you may or may not know, we have the streetscape that we have been planning for a long time. It's a $5 billion project. We're going to change the surface of Wilshire Boulevard forevermore between Vermont and Western. We're going to have a median. We're going to have beautiful trees. We're going to have a wonderful, wonderful looking street. We're going to resurface the street. We're going to have street furniture. We're going to have new crosswalks. The Metro Rail is planning to open its stations on Vermont, Normandy, and Western in June of next year.
I'm Jack McDowell. I'm in the construction division of the MTA, and I'm the project startup manager. I think the people that live in the area adjacent to the stations and also the merchants can't wait for it to open. I think they're going to be very, very pleased with the service that's going to be provided. And it provides them with another set of options in terms of commuting from here to the downtown area of Los Angeles to head to Union Station. For the people who are transit dependent, they're really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a big plus for the Wilshire corridor.
Well, first of all, Metro Rail will connect downtown with this street area. It will really encourage people to leave their cars at home and take the Metro Rail to get out here, which is necessary to the vitalization of any area. You have to have transportation techniques to bring people to the area. And we'll have that, not just the shop, but also to do business with people. Metro Rail will really help us bring that together.
I think by the end of next year, if you come down to Wilshire Boulevard between Wilton and Hoover, you are going to see a very different place.
It's a great place to come bring the family, just to see the architecture and the history of Los Angeles and the number of restaurants and shops in this kind of area. It's really going to come back. I think you're going to really see it as a great place for people to live and work.
I love doing it today. I love being a part of what might become the beginning of something wonderful. I love seeing people walk the streets smiling because the streets didn't have that many people on it. I love seeing the excitement of people looking at people. I love seeing the wonderful cars. I love seeing history that I remember.
Well, you have to first understand that when you're back east, you hear about Hollywood first, and then Wilshire Boulevard second. Hollywood was the glamour capital of the world when I was back east. Everybody thought about Hollywood and movies, but Wilshire Boulevard was the premier shopping center, business center, class stores, nightclubs like the Brown Derby, restaurants. People thought this was the street. In fact, people heard very little about LA except Wilshire Boulevard. Wilshire was it. So coming out here, first thing you want to do is go to Hollywood, then see Wilshire Boulevard.